let's talk about engagement, but not engagement as the way it's normally discussed within business and in marketing. Not numbers for the sake of numbers, because no one wants to be doing that. Not chasing likes, because it's exhausting. Not trying to beat the algorithm, because we can't. It's always one step ahead. They're always planning and doing all of those sorts of things. So we don't want to be talking about engagement like that. I want to talk about engagement quality. What the comments, the saves, the shares actually tell you about trust, confidence, and the potential conversion you have with your audience. Because if you are creating content and wondering if it's working or not, this conversation will help you read the signs more clearly. This isn't something that comes in a marketing textbook. It's not even something that comes in a business textbook, but it is definitely something that leaves business owners scratching their head.
Welcome to the Talk Podcast with ideas strategist Linda Reed-Enever. Talk is where we chat about ideas and inspiration you can use to market your business. Get ready for practical tips you can implement today with your host, Linda Reed-Enever.
We live in a world now where content is everywhere. We open our phones, our computers, our laptops, our email, even books, for crying out loud, have content everywhere. But I do love reading a good book. Your audience is scrolling fast. They're filtering constantly, and decision fatigue is definitely there. And they're deciding very quickly what deserves their attention. So when someone stops, engages, interacts, watches, or views your content, that is a big win when it comes to marketing, because there's lots going on out there. When they interact in a meaningful way, that is definitely what matters. Engagement isn't just feedback with our content, it's a behavior. And the behavior tells you far more about trust than the insight numbers of reach, visibility ever will. Here's the shift I want you to make in your marketing. Engagement is not a goal, it's a movement, okay? We're not looking for engagement to be a certain number on the figures. We're not looking for anything like that. We're looking that each piece of content, we create some sort of engagement, and that movement creates momentum. Every action someone takes with your content tells you where they are in the decision-making process. Before someone buys, inquires, or books, they usually do smaller things first. They interact, they respond, they come back. These moments are part of the customer's trust journey with you. It's part of buying from you, and it's part of engaging. And sometimes the engagement that you have out there is going to be silent. It's going to be saves, and it's not going to be random. It is intentional from the buyer's point of view. So let's start with comments. A comment isn't just an engagement piece. It is a connection, and all comments should be valued. When someone comments, they're doing more than reacting. They're choosing to speak. That means that they feel safe enough to add their voice, ask that question, and they feel understood enough to respond. And they feel confident enough to be seen on your content. You should be celebrating every comment as an absolute win. We don't need hundreds of comments to get a conversion. We need comments from the right people who want to work with us to get a conversion. And this is especially important to understand if your content isn't designed to be controversial or reactive. If your content is designed to be educational or something that might provide a tip or provide a piece, and you're not doing content bait, as I call it, then you are going to get thoughtful comments, less engagements, and less reflection, but the ones that come through are really going to matter. Comments are often the first sign that someone has seen you as a person and not just a post. And that is so important in the trust value. Saves are so underrated with social media. Saves show intention and value. When someone saves your content, they're saying, this matters to me. They might want to revisit it later, try something that you've shared. Think about it more deeply, then come back to it or use it as a reference. Saves are quiet. They're almost deadly silent in the world of social, but they are super powerful. People don't save content that they don't trust or they don't like. They don't save content that feels shallow or irrelevant. So if you're getting saves but not the comments or not the visible likes, just remember that save tells you that your content has ongoing value to a person. And more than that, it says that your message isn't just interesting, it's useful. It is such a strong trust signal that is often so silent that I see so many business owners beating themselves up, and then I go and have a look at their content and I'm like, we've got saves. And I'm celebrating that more than any comment or reach that we can get out there. Now let's look at shares, because shares go that step further. They're about alignment. When someone shares your content, they're attaching their name and their identity or values to it. They're saying, This represents how I think. This is useful, or this is something I believe others need to hear. And that's a big deal. So make sure that you thank everyone for every save. Now, I know you're not going to catch them all, but thank as many people as you possibly can. People are selective about what they share, especially in professional or public spaces. So a share tells you that your message resonates beyond that moment. They think it's useful for other people. It tells you your content reflects something true for not only your audience, but they want to share it out. And that's trust turning outwards. That's marketing momentum on steroids when someone shares your content for you. And here's why I chose comments and shares today rather than likes, reach, and those sorts of things. Comments, saves, and shares build confidence. They're actually engaged formats of trust. Not just confidence in you, but confidence in the decision to keep paying attention for our audience. When someone engages with your content with good value and they engage repeatedly, they're becoming familiar with what you do, and that builds comfort for them. Comfort then builds confidence that will transition to the next stage in their journey in your marketing tree, which is leading to action. And that's why engagement quality matters more than volume. A small group of people deeply engaged will always convert better than a large group that's barely paying attention to you. So now let's talk about how this all leads to conversion, because that's what we're wanting. And I have done a podcast episode on the different types of conversions because not every form of conversion is a sale. Engagement does lead towards sales, and we have it even in our conversion. So sales happen after our action steps have been in there. People have commented, they've saved, they've shared, they've downloaded, they've listened again, they've revisited that landing page. That's when our sale is going to happen. They happen because we've built that trust. Now let's talk about conversion, because engagement quality doesn't replace sales, it's going to lead to them. So we want engagement quality. Before someone buys, they're often going to comment, save, share, message, download, or listen again. These are all action steps forward in the journey of conversion. And conversion isn't just a dedicated sales purchase. It could be that they've opted into your email list. It could be that they have taken a mid-level purchase for you, or they've attended a freebie along the way. Sales won't happen in isolation. Some of the trust-building exercises in our conversions are going to be free or entry-level products that will lead people through to our top one. So as we round out the episode of the podcast, let's look at what we should be paying attention to in our marketing, especially when it's in social media. We need to be looking at what content gets saved, what content has sparked conversation, what content is getting shared with the context of why are people sharing it, and what do people reference when they reach out. People are going to say things like, I watched this video, or I saw this, or I've been following you for a while. And these patterns are going to tell you what's building trust and what you need to create more of. Now that we know what's getting saved, if something gets saved a lot, let's expand on it. If something sparks comments, let's go deeper or write another post about it. If something gets shared, look at the language you've used and why did it resonate? Make sure that we can use more of that language if it's natural. And then let engagement guide your next step, not your self-doubt. Because I get it, as business owners, it's easy to be putting content out there and self-doubt it. This is how your content will become a conversation and a conversion piece instead of a performance where you feel like you're a tap dancing monkey that is not connecting with anyone. Engagement isn't a scorecard in business. Engagement, interaction, whatever you want to call it, is feedback. It shows you where the connection is, where the confidence is growing, and not every post will or needs to perform loudly. Some posts will perform quietly and do the important work. And that quiet work is often the one that leads to the strongest results. And if you only take one thing from this episode, engagement quality matters more than virality, more than being out there everywhere at once. When you focus on building content that creates connection, that creates responses, you're building an audience that's going to know, like, and trust you. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Talk Podcast. I'm Linda Reed-Enever. I love helping you create impact by teaching you what I do. I hope this episode has helped you understand engagement more. And if you'd like to dive more into the world of marketing, ideas, and creating impact, check out the Ideas, Impact, and Marketing Circle, where we do just that.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talk with Linda Reed-Enever. Make sure you subscribe via your favorite podcast app so you don't miss the next great episode. You can find more ideas and inspiration at enevergroup.com.au.